You guys have been waiting for this one for a while, and that is an update on Cardano and what they're doing with Djed, the stablecoin, and how this might apply to some Cardano growth. So we don't ignore it. We're, of course, going to address it and give it its own episode today. You guys are going to love it. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. You guys, we always look at Cardano. It's in our CPI. We track it constantly. It is a beast, and the community itself is a beast as well. Before we get started, though, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you're looking at long-term placement of your crypto and you want to do it in an IRA way to kind of get a little bit of a tax advantage, try it out. It's very easy. There's no monthly fees, and it's very simple to use. The cool thing is you can trade a lot of altcoins on there. You can get into Bitcoin, ETH, all that good stuff. You can even get into gold and silver. The point is it's making it easy for you guys to manage your own IRA. That's one of the things that I like about it is self-manage. You do pay fees on the trades, but other than that, you're good to go. Make sure and check them out. They do a good job on education as well. If you're new to that, how to work it, rollovers, all that kind of stuff, they'll guide you through. All you have to do is click the link below. You'll get a $100 funding reward once you get yourself set up there. Try it out. All right, let's get into it. And Cardano is the topic. One of the things that, of course, has been moving is Cardano's stablecoin movement, and that is Djed scores a new listing. And this is going to be something that we'll continue to see rolling in. You can see what COTI had to say. Another Djed partner has announced that they will be listing Djed, and Shen as well. So pretty cool. That's going to be on Muesliswap. But I think we're going to see more coming over. Matter of fact, I want to go over to COTI and to Shahaf. We had Shahaf on the show. Actually, it was this time last year, and we were talking about Djed at that time when they were just starting to roll it out. But let me kind of listen into what he has to say about their plans.
Some listing and liquidity announcements. So Bitrue is the first centralized exchange that has announced that they will be listing both Djed and Shen. So thank you, Bitrue. We expect more to follow, and there's a lot of hype and interest around Djed and Shen right now. So probably a few others will follow. Other than that, Wing Riders have hinted towards them listing Djed and Shen, and I truly expect that to happen. They're not the only ones. Muesliswap, which is also another DEX partner, has announced that they will be listing Djed and Shen. So liquidity is coming as well. So that is all that I have for today. All around great news.
All right, so you can kind of see, I mean, it's a bit of an update there, a little bit of a listing scenario that plays into this. I don't know that it's going to, be earth-shattering. Now, granted, there will be a lot of Cardanians out there that I think will start to utilize this platform and the ability to get a true Cardano stablecoin. That may change things, which could cause some demand and push toward more listings. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. This coming in from COTI in pursuit of our visionary plans. It came into 2023. Optimism, ambition. Today, we're excited to share plans with you, and you kind of see their roadmap. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys a little bit. Djed right here coming into early 20, then going to G-COTI, and then their treasury. They've got COTI Pay lined up for this year, and then COTI V2. Probably have to get their team on because I want to learn about what COTI V2 is going to be in terms of future for, especially around a stablecoin for Cardano, because I do think that is one that will be interesting to watch. Here's a little bit more on what they were talking about as we approach the launch of Djed. We believe it's important to educate more on the category of stablecoins and learn why Djed should be referred to as an over-collateralized stablecoin, and it's not algorithmic. Now, this is something that when we talked to them last, it's a good explanation here too. Centralized, decentralized, exogenous collateral in of course Cardano, over collateral on a 1-to-8 ratio, which that's pretty amazing. The key here will be getting to the point that Shahaf was getting at, and that is liquidity. You're going to have to get there, and you can kind of see algorithmic where it's kind of struggles, and then obviously the fiat-backed component, which I still think is the model to use. Obviously with Djed, it's going to go up a little bit of a pressure because it's obviously going against some of the big ones out there with BUSD, Tether, and USDC. So interesting to see. We'll see how this moves along. Just as a reminder, I just wanted to kind of bring this back up. Here's Cardano Cube, which gets into all of the different projects. You can go to the utility projects right here. Here's the NFT projects right here. They have a lot of NFTs on the platform. I was actually surprised when I saw this because it's been a while since I looked at this. And there's pretty significant here. It might be a little bit underrated in the area of NFTs. We'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be the year of NFTs. We're going to see more of it, and especially as more and more projects, especially layer ones, really do a good job with that. You know, we've seen and had a lot of movement on Avalanche here recently. We had John Woo on last week talking a little bit about their plans and where they're going. So cool stuff. Over 1,000 projects right here. Matter of fact, Lark Davis, even though I'm not a big fan of Lark, 1,000 projects building on Cardano, about a third of them NFTs. All right, so he's kind of seeing the same thing. I feel like ADA's NFT scene is pretty heavy underrated. You can kind of see the numbers right here. And again, this gets back to the thing that I talk about often with Cardano. And I buy it, sell it. You know, it's not one of those tokens that I understand you guys are, but it's not one that I look at long-term holding. You know my position. I'm much more conservative. And then I go straight to the edge cases in Web3 NFTs. So I'm looking for conservative, and then I really get risky on a lot of the projects that I get into. And then I have a handful of altcoins that I feel are good. Matic, Render I still feel like is still going to have a lot of movement, but I like that one long term. But the thing is that when we get into kind of the future of where Cardano is going, this to me is an interesting stat. And I want to show you this. Cardano has the same number of wallets as Ethereum had in 2017. So if you think about the growth, and they kind of show the chart here, if you think about growth, and if you believe in Cardano, which I know a lot of you do, you are literally at the precipice of an absolute Olympus, Mount Olympus, coming up into what could be an Ethereum challenger. Now, granted, some of the things that I think have to happen is a lot of integrations into use case that is mass adopted. Now, there's a lot of use case built into the framework of Cardano, and Charles often slaps me back on Twitter quite often, saying there's this use case, that use case, this use case. But when I say use case, I'm talking about at least mass adopted. When I say mass adopted within our own silo right now, because we haven't started mass adoption in traditional and general population. But mass adopted in our own silo, NFT collectors, Web3 enthusiasts, obviously crypto and altcoin enthusiasts. That to me is where utility is measured right now. And unless you can start making up, just like I show you here with the wallets, of where Cardano is versus where Ethereum is. That's the example given. Now, granted, I would love to go back in 2017 and buy Ethereum. Wouldn't you? So maybe that is the model here that really starts to go forward on the future here. Here's a little bit more on Cardano, another marketplace. So you can create your own custom NFT marketplace. This is on NMaker, I believe, and this is on Mastro. So you can white label this. I would say maybe this is like Nifty-Fi or something like that, where you can, but obviously Nifty-Fi tied to Polygon and Ethereum. So I don't know that this is going to be a big win, but there will be some isolated scenarios that plays into maybe that early adoption getting into the NFT ecosystem. Another one that we covered last year about this time was World Mobile Token. And of course, this is World Mobile Token right now. Again, good, interesting project, but not one that has seen mass adoption within our silo. And if you go back and look at our video with World Mobile Token, you kind of listen to a little bit about what they do. Further into this was kind of their 5G radius, definitely not a scenario like what Helium is dealing with when you think about where World Mobile is versus where Helium is. That's the example that I'm kind of getting to in the term of mass adoption within our silo, all right? And that's what you kind of have to compare to when you continue to look at some of these projects. We just did a big deal on Helium actually this week. Helium Solana, it was the ecosystem, which I think is the trifecta of where Arweave is going to play into that. Lots of cool stuff happening over there. Check that video out because it's pretty cool. This is the other thing. This was an outage that was charted by CoinDesk, and you can kind of see that this is not an outage. This is an outage. And there's a little bit of tit for tat going on between Charles Hoskinson and the media in general. This was an opinion piece right here on whether Charles Hoskinson, all this stemmed from one of Charles's live streams of him saying, hey, maybe I should buy CoinDesk, or hey, maybe I should start trying to figure out how to get into media. But Charles Hoskinson would be the worst thing to happen to CoinDesk. And obviously this is media pushing back. I will agree with Charles Hoskinson on one point, and that is that traditional crypto media has an agenda. So does traditional finance media. So does traditional food media. So does traditional tech media. All media has an agenda. About the only time you really don't get inside agendas is when you're going to people that are, starving creators like ourselves. There's no agenda. We just want to educate, try to grow an audience. And the only problem is that's not mass market. What you guys are seeing out there in terms of where you follow, and we're doing it, we kind of fall prey to this. That's why we use so much of the Twitter content, but at the same time, it's a lot of research to make sure that stuff is right. But most of the media pieces that we showcase, we have to kind of go and dig down into these and create a picture that gives a more balanced review of it. And that's the problem that I do agree with Charles Hoskinson on, is that does not really exist out there today. And then here, of course, is Charles responding to that piece. And it says, man, reading this hit piece tells you how elite journalism thinks. Apparently putting up a bond attesting to the truth of an article is a terrible idea. Anyone who thinks the media lies doesn't know anything about journalism. I know a lot about journalism, been in it for a very long time. And I agree with Charles on this. The media does lie, yes. But I think pretty much everybody out here watching our show today probably knows that. So I don't know that that's a revelation. And what I think is, and it's an interesting theory that I'd love to get in a conversation with Charles about this, is there is a potential for maybe a federated component of how media might work in Web3. It'll be very interesting because you got to remember, media, the industry itself, absolutely massive. I know we're talking about stablecoins and Cardano, but maybe Cardano plays into that in some sort of validation, some sort of technology on the blockchain that could possibly create those values that he's mentioning, that he so desires about getting just good quality content. I'm going to end up on Cardano's automotive project at Davos. And this to me, again, is what kind of rolls up into that point of not getting mass adoption in silos. Now, there will be an argument here that the tuk-tuk is so highly used around the world in a lot of these, underdeveloped countries as transportation. And I get that. I understand that for sure. But I think to really make a dent in the universe, you're going to have to, and I know that there's a lot of mission here on some of the things that Cardano does. There's a much more lofty visual, aspiration to do what they're trying to do, which is better the world. I totally agree with that. But to better the world, you're going to have to get into mass adoption areas. And to do that, you need to be in Western nations. You need to be in high-tech nations. You need to be in high-affluence nations, which at some point will start to move that initiative into a lot of these developing countries. These developing countries are going to move fast, and they're going to move very fast when they see additional growth in all of these other adopted areas. Back to my point, silo, mass adoption. That's all you have to do. If you do that, you're going to win no matter what project you're in. Cardano, Avalanche, Solana. Solana is a good example. They've done a good job. Polygon, massive a job at silo adoption, killing it. Avalanche just is beginning their trek on it. So cool stuff. We're going to get into the chart. And I know we have a poll. We'll take some questions today. Let's take a look at the poll real quick. Do these updates make you more bullish on Cardano? I can't imagine that would not have been 75%. All right. What I can imagine is that there's only 146 votes on that. Clearly, the Cardanians are not coming in. Anyway, the point being is, yeah, this is somewhat bullish. I think the fact that we are seeing movement on it, good for Cardano. And maybe this is good for the token itself. If you look at the numbers here right now, just to give you an example, Cardano came in from around 24, pegging up to 38 right now, so a nice 55%, which is not bad if you were swing trading Cardano. This might have been maybe an exit point right now. I'll have to take a look at the sentiment data on this one and see if you guys want to check into our CPI. Actually, it's got a little bit of a potential here to go to 42. We'll see how that was a short-lived period. Interesting. Love to get your input, guys. Make sure and drop some comments below. We would always love to hear them. And if you're out there on Twitter, just put out in the universe that we have always welcomed Charles Hoskinson on this channel. We just can't get him to come on. I will open this stage because I think he's got some interesting ideas. And in theory, I think Charles is got a lot of things that he's right on. Obviously, I will argue the point of adoption. I will argue the point of evolution. Yes, I will go there. But in the idea of where the future is going, he's probably one of the best minds out there. So we'd love to have him on the show. Hopefully one day he'll say yes to our conversation requests. They are not interviews. They are conversations out there. All right, let's go to a couple of questions. Bullish on mini Cardano dApps, Clay Nation, good one. Indigo Protocol, I don't know that one. And then Meld Labs, I don't know that one. Pavia, heard of it. That's a good example right there, Balkar, is that some of these, I mean, granted, I mean, we are talking Web3. This is really the reinvention of the next internet. So there's a lot of projects out there we haven't heard of. So sure, but that's the point. Mass adoption in the silo. That's all we need to do. Hard to compete against Ethereum, for sure. I think that's a big one. Solana's FUD was worse. Yeah, for sure. But I don't think Cardano gets as much FUD. I mean, I know Charles thinks that there's a lot of FUD against Cardano. Cardano never gets a hard case on peer review, quality, consistency, outside of their small outage. They never get that challenged. I mean, Solana is constantly getting that with down, this problem, that problem. It's the reason I have always questioned Solana as a beta project and what they've been able to do. So I would disagree with that one. Djed, oh, Howell, Djed will collapse. That's a bold statement. I mean, the key here will be liquidity. That's all. If the Cardanian nation goes in there and becomes liquidity for Djed, that in itself is probably going to be a win to a certain extent. Main Squeeze, NFTs look like entryways for new people to get in crypto. I will tell you this, Main Squeeze, they are not. Stay away from NFTs. You need to know what you're doing with NFTs. It is right now, it is a wrecked wonderland that is at the bottom of the basement that only skilled people need to be. And I know you don't like hearing this, guys, but it is a truth. And NFTs, they're going to grow. They're going to get going like crazy. Don't get me wrong. But it's so early on these. You really need to do the work. I'm talking thousands of hours of research and dedication to the NFT marketplace. Rocky says, I think the main issue with Cardano is that ADA Army is more active on YouTube Twitter polls than their own chain. Numbers do not lie when it comes to transactions compared to other L1s. I would agree. ADA is the anti-hype coin, for sure, Jen. That is true. Hey, listen, we tried to hype them today and give them a little bit of love and a little bit of understanding, too, because I think they are one of the most misunderstood projects out there, even to today. So very cool. Jeff comes in with saying, I got a huge bag of ADA staked on my digital wallet. Good for you. I'm not touching it till 2030. See, you're thinking like Charles. You're thinking like Charles. If Cardano doesn't take off by then, it never will. Thanks for the deep dive. You bet, man. No problem. And I think the key here, again, the key point, mass adoption in the silo. But the problem is you got all of these other projects that are moving in that space at a much faster rate. And this gets back to my days in Silicon Valley, and that is fail fast and fail forward. That was what we told startups all the time. You cannot go slow because there's too many other people in the race. Fail, and if it doesn't work, fail forward so you're at least advancing. That's Solana. Solana is fail fast and fail forward. Avalanche, I would say, is kind of moving on fail forward. They haven't failed fast because they haven't moved at lightning speed, but I think they're getting ready to. Failing in this space, Web3, right now in this time is a good thing. You're failing in the area in where low adoption is in and the market that is investing in you understand. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, guys, make sure, get in on our Diamond Circle. I've been pitching this a lot. It is a new program. All you have to do is jump over to our website and join the Diamond Circle. It's free. It's got a brand new look over on Substack. This is what it looks like right here. I'm going to show you one thing that we do on this platform that we don't do on any other platform, and that is this right here, where we do a technical analysis. This was a breakdown from me and Evan. And then what I did is I give you an audio of what this chart is talking about. All of that is built right there in Substack. So you can get this just by subscribing now to our Substack over there. This is only available for the Diamond Circle. So if you're a CPI member, you get access to this, mastermind access. You get a paid access level for this. But we got a lot of free stuff and a lot of free content over there. So check it out. If you guys want to reach me, it is out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. That's simple. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.